Welcome to the Abundant Life Center on this beautiful Sunday in Vancouver, Washington in March, just after the first day of spring, I believe, or the equinox. I forget which it is. I guess it's the first day of spring, isn't it? No, it's the equinox. Equinox. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, it's March 22nd. First day of spring. Okay. Okay. I don't know why in my mind I can't figure out when an equinox would be as I talk about it. Yeah.
I thought it was the same thing.
Is it? Anyway, we'll worry about that. Marty says no, she knows. Well, we can talk about that in our discussion at the end. Okay, well, it's really glad to see everyone here, and we just wish Eric and Kay well on their journey and wrap them in love and light. So I will light our God candle as a symbol of the one power and presence in the universe. It is called by many names, and the name you choose to use is welcome. So just settle back and relax, and let me guide you through just a centering experience. So if you like, close your eyes and imagine an old, sturdy chest sitting in front of you, the kind built to last, with a heavy latch on its lock. Just reach out, lift the latch, and slowly open the lid. Inside, you see that the chest is completely empty. Now picture all your worries, desires, frustrations, everything that weighs on your mind or pulls at your attention. One by one, place them gently into the chest. Take a moment to be sure you've left nothing behind. When you're ready, close the chest and turn away, leaving the chest behind you. And in front of you stretches a breathtaking view, the vast sea from the edge of a high cliff. Feel the fresh air, hear the sound of the waves, and take in the peace of the open horizon. And open your eyes when you're ready and bring your calm and presence and spirit of freedom with you. So, Ananda, will you mute all of us so that we don't over talk one another as we share our values? So you can read these along with us.
I can't find that.
You can't find that. Okay.
No.
We can each mute ourselves.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't you do that? That'll make life easy. Okay. All righty. Our values. Read along if you like. We show up and act with gentle honesty and authenticity, vulnerability, caring, and trust, open and welcoming hearts, attentive listening to and respect for one another, an intention to connect with the divine, a dedication to community, a commitment to grow through spiritual practice and service. Thank you. So our opening song is "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple."
Okay.
And we can sing out since we're all muted, and I'll mute myself. That was a spirited version of that song. Sometimes we get recordings that, you want to move along, but that one was right in there welcoming us to the day. So I'm so pleased to have our speaker, Marty Geltz, with us today, Reverend Marty Geltz. And feel free to unmute yourself at your leisure here, Marty. And she is, I think all of us know, but someone watching this may or may not know, was our guiding minister for quite a while. And she actually even assisted us prior to being our guiding minister in formulating the style of more of a community-led group. So we have a lot to thank her for and to see our paths, being guided and merging in this. And I remember too, when this just after that, expressed such gratitude of the involvement of the community instead of just being out there like doing everything. So it not only got our involvement, but drew the right leader to us in the future, somebody who wanted that participation. So I don't know the name of your topic, but we're so glad to have you, and I will turn it over to you. I think you'll do the meditation and then just go right on into what your message is.
Thank you. Such a pleasure. I say it every time I'm here, but please believe me, it's absolutely true when I say ALC really has a special place in my heart, and it always will. It's a
Love
pleasure.
you, Marty.
Thank you. What I'd like to do, since we had kind of a centering piece already at the opening, what I'd like to do with the meditation is bring you into the topic. The title I chose was The Simplicity of Soul. Now, some of you heard me already say that I do just sit and ask for the topic, and this just kept coming. It wouldn't leave me alone. I didn't really want to do it, but there it is, and I'm just honoring the voice that comes by going ahead with that. So I'd like to just have us begin to touch that topic of the soul, the simplicity of the soul, by just moving into meditation, relaxing, getting comfortable, releasing, giving yourself permission to accept and be open to whatever comes, and to invite you to consider some important questions on topic. When I turn myself and my attention to the soul, what do I automatically see or feel or understand or touch? Do you feel you have a soul? And what does it look like? Is the way you see your soul complicated? Does it take a lot of mental gymnastics to explain it or to address it? Or is your soul simplistic, simple in nature? And when you invite a meeting with your soul, or however you would describe that, do you hear a voice? I sometimes wonder if it's my soul, that voice that comes in. What is yours? What does it feel like? Take the time to notice that. How do you know when you're in touch with your soul? Maybe it's a feeling. Maybe it's something visual you can see. Maybe it's a sound. Is it your sense that the soul, your soul, the soul, is personal or group? And more importantly, does it feel real to you? Do you sense that it's real? Or is it something hypothetical, something that's a concept, but maybe doesn't seem like real at reality? Does it feel physical or metaphysical? Just take some quiet time and allow the questions to lead you to hear or see or feel your answers, not somebody else's answers, your answers. As you feel that you can gather in your heart or in your arms some of those answers, the invitation is to just bring that along with you. As you come back to the room, to your close community, to one of your spiritual anchors in life. As you're ready, with a heart full and arms full, open your eyes. I think the topic of the soul is one that religion nor science has been able to really define or been able to really pin it down or be able to give us some facts about it or some knowing about it. And And I think that we tend to sometimes just personally make our own deal about it. It's this for me, and that's what matters. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not here to say anything's right or wrong about your relationship with soul. But one of the things that I notice when people are asked about their soul, when they say, do you have a relationship with soul, or are you soul, or how do you see soul? Most people will point to themselves. They'll do this. It's the me that's me, or they'll put their hand on their heart, or they'll say this. It's ethereal and fleeting, or it's here always. We have lots of ways that we discuss and bring forward our own relationship to the notion of soul. And a lot of people will say, it's how I know my lights are on. Somebody's there, I'm there, and I'm aware. Or people will say, it's what leaves the body when we die. That's a favorite one for me. Because I'm not buying that one, but and the reason I don't buy that one is that one of the things that's true is that it's possible to see, for me anyway, it's possible to see that the soul, that God, that the universe, and the way the universe operates is one and the same. Someone, if you're interested in that topic, someone to read might be Baruch Spinoza. Spinoza lived, he was born in, I don't know, the 1630s or so. He was actually born, I believe I read that he was born the year before Galileo was on trial by the Inquisition. And he was a Jewish Portuguese man. His family was from Portugal, but because the Portuguese were running an Inquisition and it wasn't popular to be Jewish in Portugal or Spain or Italy in those years, one of the things that happened is his family left Portugal and fled to the Netherlands. He was actually born in Amsterdam, and that's where he lived and worked. And to this day, he's considered one of the most important thinkers of the new modern age, the 1600s, in Europe, and especially in the Netherlands, where he lived and worked. And what I love about his writing is he was the one who to really say out loud during the Inquisition that God is nature. God and nature are one and the same. God and the universe. God is the universe. And, this is, of course, before the advent of physics and some of the more advanced science that we have today. So he was really in a position to be careful about what he talked about and what he wrote about. And in fact, he says in some of his work, he'll actually say, a lot of my work, it was, controversial. And so I didn't write as much as I wanted to because I was afraid of being repressed, that my voice would be repressed, that I would be, strung up or whatever, burned at the stake. Although the Dutch society that his parents fled to was much more lenient and open. But one of the things that strikes me about his pronouncement that nature is God, God is nature, they are one, is that, this was before physics really expanded. I mean, Galileo was already in trouble for saying, what was true about um, the universe, which was that everything didn't revolve around the earth. So, it was a time when it was risky to disagree, and yet he did. And I have always, before I even discovered Spinoza, which I didn't find him until seminary, um, I have always felt that nature has the blueprints of life, the real, true blueprints of life. And the interesting thing about what we've discovered is true about the universe and the status of our spirituality is suddenly now in more of a confluence. The church for years would twist itself in knots to allow room for newly discovered information about the real world, right? And it was something that the church was always struggling with, as my opinion, was to say, oh, well, we thought it was this, but now it's this. Now we know it's this. So it's a little bit of a confluence, like where two rivers come together and they merge. And we're in a time where I'm seeing that more and more. And one of the things that's pretty exciting is that as spiritual people, as quite liberated spiritual people, we are not afraid to put on a lab coat once in a while and look at what is and see how that affects the way we interact and show up in our world, in our universe. So the interesting thing is, well, I'm just going to invite you to put on your lab coat for a minute, because the interesting thing about physics is basically about how things work. What's the, computerize it, we could say it's the operating system of the universe. And so we know a lot more, of course, now than we did in the 1600s or the 1500s or before. And what does that gift us that we know this? And I'm going to invite you to consider that we can get closer, perhaps, to the reality, the truth of who we are. Because we know how the world works in us, through us, as us, through physics. So put on your lab coat for a minute. And the good thing about physics is you don't need to know about physics to understand the piece I'm going to share with you today that I think is important. And that is that the universe has laws. It only works this way. There's no exception. There's no what if. It's just we know for certain at our level of knowledge that this is how things work. Oh, okay. So what kinds of things? Well, when it comes to the soul and the me that is me, I'm going to suggest this one particular piece of physics to integrate into your spirituality, if it works for you. And that is that the universe is, 13.8 or something billion years old. And it was when it happened, the Big Bang happened, all the atoms that were ever going to be in the universe showed up in that moment, within 3 minutes of the Big Bang, they say. So what? What does that mean? It means that everything in the universe that is stuff, matter, stuff, including our bodies, is made up of atoms, and that these atoms are nearly 14 billion years old. And how is that possible that there aren't any more and there aren't any less? So the universe, the law of conservation says, there is a fixed number of atoms in the universe, no more, no less, and that these atoms fly through the universe nonstop, and they recycle through stuff. So stuff can be meteors or planets or stars or people or trees or rivers or rocks or flowers. And I guess I see it sort of like, I wrote a paper about this once. It's like this giant recycling center in the sky, if you will. The whole thing is moving, number one. And if there's a fixed amount of stuff to go around, and everything gets recycled. So what does that mean? It means that things don't really die. They transform. How do they transform? Because we're made up of all these atoms, like a person generally is made up of 7 to the 27th power. So that's 7 with 27 zeros after it, atoms that make up your body. Wow. I guess I'm a big deal. It's a lot, right? But here's the exciting thing that physics now knows that we can take into consideration when we look out at the world through spirit. We are a particular, unique pattern of those atoms. Does that make sense? Can you follow? We are a unique pattern of all those atoms. And those atoms have been here long before we showed up, and they will be here long before we're done. And after we're done. Because what happens is when we die, what happens is the particular pattern that is me, those atoms leave, they go back out into the universe, and they become part of something else. Maybe another person, maybe a tree, like I said, stuff in the universe. How does that make you feel? That you're, that who you are goes out and gets shared when you're done using it. So one of the things that means also is that the atoms that make us up have already made up other stuff before us. So some of the atoms that make you up maybe were in Moses' body, or you breathed an air molecule that was in Gandhi, JFK, Cleopatra, a Roman gladiator, you name it, right? They get shared and they become different stuff according to the pattern. So the interesting thing about a pattern is not static. It's not a thing. It's stuff, but it's not a thing. It's not a noun. It's a verb. Why? Because it's moving. It's action. We are a pattern of action. Doesn't that, it gets me excited. I don't know. It just makes me see things so differently when I think about that. Because what it further means, and this is important, is we don't really die. The we that it's me, we don't really die. We transform. We let go of this pattern of atoms, and it goes on to become something else. So that which was me is now something else. Now, why would we think that this is a spiritual idea? I think it is because it means, number one, that we're eternal, we're immortal. That which was me has moved on into a different pattern, but it still has me on it. It still has a record of me. Because there's a law of information that says information cannot be destroyed. And the universe is designed to conserve itself, to continue to be present, to continue to grow. And one of the theories in the spiritual piece of this is that everything that we are, everything we think, everything we decide, every action we take, every idea we have gets recorded in this pattern, in these atoms, for the cosmic record. Well, that changes things, doesn't it? So one of the things that it means, as far as I'm concerned, is, the metaphor of the wave. You've heard of that one? The metaphor of the wave. So that if you're standing watching the ocean and the water's forming waves and it comes into the shore and the wave breaks on the shore. So the question is the wave separate from the ocean? Or is the wave part of the ocean? Or is the wave what the ocean is doing? So you can see how some of this stuff is a little bit brain breaker, but it's so fascinating because it relates, at least for me, it relates to how spirit works. So the idea that we are like a wave, as a metaphor, means that when we come into a particular pattern, I'm in my Marty pattern, I'm suddenly like a wave, like in the ocean, where the wave just sort of separates isn't really the word. It takes an action as part of the ocean. It's not separate from the ocean. And when the wave goes off and rolls to the shore and hits the shore and disperses, that's what we do. It's just like what we do. But it's not a death, it's a transformation. I think that's a really big deal to figure out that science supports the spiritual notion that many of us have, which is we don't really die, but we do transform. We become something else. So ask yourself, what does that mean for me when I'm thinking about my spirituality? If I cannot die because my atoms just move on and become part of something else, and I'm recorded on those atoms, the me that was me is recorded on those atoms. Why do you think all of that happens? I mean, the answer that comes for me, and you'll have your own answer perhaps, is it's the universe experiencing itself. If the universe is about patterns, how many patterns? I'm the universe. How many patterns can I come up with? How can I create a pattern that has the level of awareness and consciousness to ask important questions, to ask the universe, why am I here? Do I have a soul? If I have a soul, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Is it real? Is it eternal? Is it the all of us? Is it the all that is? Or is it individualized? All good questions, right? When we're pursuing our spiritual path. So when let me just say this, the beautiful thing about physics is it really doesn't care how we feel, doesn't care what beliefs we're already carrying around, endorsing. It doesn't care if we're uncomfortable with the idea that we're going to die. It only cares about one thing, truth. Truth with a capital T. Truth with a capital T. And it does everything it does in search of and in support of and to conserve the truth. So I guess I just feel like, this is the way the universe works, and whether we like it or not, it has laws, and those laws cannot be broken. And the sooner perhaps that we get on board with what the operating system of the universe is in relationship to ourselves, our patterns that we bring, it seems like the sooner we can have a couple of ahas, maybe. And the universe is actually, since the universe is actually designed to conserve itself, we know it works. We know it's life-giving. We know it lives. And how does that affect my spirituality? One of the things that I'm going to share with you, although I might be sorry, I shared it out loud, but I'm just hearing that I need to. And what I want to say about it is, what if the soul is the universe? It's something that I've really thought a lot about and tried to sit with and listen for. And, it's something you might consider doing to just see what happens, see where it takes you, see where it confirms you. Is it when we get to that place, we say, oh, well, the wave, the wave breaks off from the ocean, breaks off from the all that is, and does its thing, and then dies. But if, in fact, we're never really separate from the ocean when we become the wave, when we become the pattern of who we are, I think it makes me want to say, when we remember that we're just a pattern, that we're not separate, that our pattern is activity, not stillness, not still stuff, not doing something. And so we have this image of, well, we return to the ocean. But the truth is, with the capital T, we never really left. So, I just invite you to do some wondering. And I'm hoping I haven't confused you rather than enlightened you about some of the things that are in play in the world we live in the universe we live in, and the fact that we are all one, that we were all connected. And is that place back in the ocean of the universe? Is that where the soul, is that the soul? And is it a group thing? Is it a group soul? And we're just one pattern in billions of patterns. Something to wonder about, something to open to the possibility. The universe is busy making patterns to see itself, to experience itself, to grow itself, to conserve itself. The energy that's there, all that energy is conserved. It's not going anywhere. It transforms, but it never leaves. It cannot leave. Because the law of the ledger is in place. The conservation of energy is the law of the universe. There's a certain amount, no more, no less. No matter how many patterns the universe indulges, the ledger is always balanced. Same number of atoms. And circulating, recycling. I think it's interesting that we have concepts in our culture now that reflect the way the universe works. We have recycling now. We're not that good at it, but we're getting better, right? But is that a subconscious pattern that came to us from the soul, the group soul? I don't know. But it's something to wonder about, because it's something that could expand our experience of who we are and why we're here. So you can take off your white coat now, your lab coat, and just allow yourself to just think about, and allow yourself to explore, and allow yourself to be open to any changes that information might bring into your spiritual path. I know it has been an important one for me. And it's important to remember that, some people say, well, if that's the case, do I just completely disappear? And I addressed that lightly earlier, but let me just be clear. You do not disappear. The pattern that was you is discontinued and you transformed into something new. But it takes everything that you put on that atom or in that atom in the form of information. So thoughts, ideas, actions, all of that. It puts it in the atoms. I'm going to just say it that way. It's more complex than that, but it's simply put into the atoms and becomes a part of that cosmic record. So I guess I have to imagine the universe sitting there looking back at what it's doing, at all these patterns, and saying, how about we make a pattern that's conscious? How about we make a pattern that's aware? How about we make a pattern and we give it free will? How about we make a pattern that is aware enough to touch a table and feel the table touching you back? How about we make a pattern that is immortal because of the nature of the universe? I feel a lot of emotion when I talk about this topic, and haven't really talked with that many people, but some people, close people. But if God is the universe, why are we looking elsewhere? If God is nature, why are we looking elsewhere? And if the soul is the universe, why are we looking elsewhere? Why are we making things up? Why are we trying to define consciousness and, with semantic miracles, putting language together in a way that we can try to capture its essence? What if it's simple? What if the soul is the universe? I'm not saying it is, but I think about it. And I encourage you to think about it. So when we remember, and when we're performing like a wave, when we remember that we really are still connected, that we're never separate, the ocean knows it. The ocean knows we're just a pattern. The ocean doesn't grieve a loss of us when we become a wave, because the ocean knows it's not a loss. The ocean knows it's a transformation, and it'll show back up in the ocean and maybe become a different wave. I think that's a miraculous thought. So I guess I would leave you with this final thought, and it's just formulating in my head, which is we need to remember the way the universe works, because in doing so, we remember what we really are. We remember what the soul is. We remember that we are the universe expressing itself, striving for more consciousness, for more awareness, for more connection. And that we need to remember we are not just in the universe. We are not just part of the inner universe. We actually are the universe itself taking action through us, as us. And I think that if we remember that, I think that's how we remember our soul. That's how we remember our real essence, our real purpose, to allow God as the universe to express as us. Wow. I leave you with that thought. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Wow. I had a lot of things go through my head from the meditation and what I took out and, evolving on through. Who would like to share either their experience, thoughts, what they brought back, or their process, or a question, anything?
I do. I loved what you brought forward today, Marty. I kind of understand all of it. I mean, not all of it. I kind of understand the essence of it. And that's what originally attracted me to New Thought, was that it was so, I don't want to say logical. That's not the right word, but it made so much sense rather than superstition and religion and metaphysics explains things, kind of in our modern scientific way. But my question in all of this, I understand a lot of it, most of it, but where does love come in? It feels very cold, rigid laws. It works this way, you're part of this. True, but what about the love aspect of it? From what I've taken from our trainings throughout the years in New Thought, love is all there is. And love is the energy of the universe that connects us all. And we're all part of, this loving energy. And when we die, we go back into loving energy. Where does love fit in all of this metaphysical, scientific, logical laws of the universe?
I can give you how I see it, and I'm not saying
That's all we can.
that's all I can give you.
Yeah.
But the way I see it is that love is the universe. The universe is acting from love of itself, love of its possibilities for love of light, love of action, love of thoughts, love of ideas, love of connection. And one of the things that I was careful to point out is that everything we do is on the record, if you will. The theory, and we can't prove it yet, but it's in the works right now, the theory of information, conservation of information in physics, which is everything that we do, think, imagine, act on is leaves a footprint. I guess I'll say it that way. It leaves a footprint in the universe. And the more love that's patterned, the more love gets collected on the cosmic record. I guess I see it as collecting love.
Hmm.
Maybe someone else has an idea about how you might see that.
I love all the metaphors you brought in, and I've felt them from time to time. I think one of my early metaphors was that we are like in a balloon, but the rest of the universe is out there. But when the balloon breaks, we're part of the universe again. So and I've thought lots of different metaphors along the way, and I really like yours about the wave and the ocean. That really resonates. Thank you.
Thank you for noticing. Because one of the things that we always say is we rejoin the universe, or we rejoin Godness. But the fact is, physics now proves to us that we've never really been separate. Something to keep in mind when you play with those metaphors, Carol.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the energy. What the thing is, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, right?
Not permanently destroyed.
Right.
That's right.
And that's at our current level of understanding. And I loved when you put that in there, because that is like a really good listen to this and remember this. And that was super. I feel more energy when I'm out in nature, away from brooks and rocks and stuff. But when I'm in the grass and the ferns and the trees I feel more energy and more alive there than anywhere.
Me too, nature girl. And you know what? Do you ever touch a tree? Touch a tree, something happens. I'm not going to go into it right now, but something happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just like to say that it's not the number of atoms, it's the amount of energy that's in the universe. Atoms do change in stars. Atoms get fused together to make new atoms. They get broken apart. So the number of atoms isn't constant, but the amount of energy is. That's true. It congeals into matter atoms in different ways. But other than that, everything you said is spot on about how every action seems to make to be imprinted on the universe. I don't know how, but it is. It's, the Indians give it the karma, their understanding's a little weird, I think, but they do have that understanding that actions matter. And we're responsible for our actions and the trash that it leaves behind when they go awry. But that's ethics. But it was very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think reading The 100th Monkey a long, long time ago was
Right.
a beginning understanding. When the monkeys on one island started washing their potatoes, and then the monkeys on another island miles and miles away started doing the same thing. And Rupert Sheldrake's morphic fields, I love that concept. And so I'm putting all these little concepts together, and I'm learning along the way, and I really love what you brought today. Thank you.
You're referring to also, there's something called entanglement, which means that two things become entangled, and no matter the distance between them, they each respond simultaneously in the same way.
Yeah, I read about that. The atoms that spin in one direction, the other ones spin exactly the same way, light years away probably. But yeah.
I'll share a little bit. During the meditation, I never think about soul. It doesn't seem particularly key to my question about who I am or whatever. I guess there is that, I guess the word essence that maybe, people talk about continuing or whatever, and that's where the soul comes in, but in terms of relating to the soul. So it's interesting, to identify it. And it seemed to be like right outside here, and maybe about the size of my fist, and similar oval shape. And then as you talked, and I don't know if it was during the meditation or later, it's like, what does it do? It kind of imbues an essence in me, which could be the pattern, that little soul might just be, this is the description of this pattern, I don't know. But anyway, that's what I got. And then I was really concerned, like back in the old days, people left people out to, go back into the soil and nature. And what are we doing now? Putting bodies, we've been doing this for a while, in concrete blocks, does that like restrict the available atoms and energy for other things, and then as population grows,
Right.
how does that, grab that energy that might have been expressed or out there in other ways? Those kind of thoughts went through me, those kind of ramifications. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I guess I honestly believe that the universe is thrilled when we ask those kinds of questions. Look what I made. I made a pattern that can answer any question. Wow.
Yeah. Who else would like to share? Cindy.
Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed what you had to say today, Marty. I've found in my journey out of fundamental Christianity to really be helped by science, to be helped by physics. I like to read that kind of stuff too, and usually it just kind of I don't grasp it all, but something in me, maybe it's my soul, I don't know, that really is attracted to the truth of it and how to put that together, science, facts, and of course science, we find out something becomes a fact 50 years ago and now it's not anymore. Like that keeps changing too, but just all the weaving together of these topics of wanting to be conscious more aware, and so I just really enjoyed hearing all this and adding it to like what Ananda said about how do we know that there's this exact number of atoms and it keeps changing, and like where is that proven? Because my mind wants to know that. But on the other hand, it's a very it's causes a lot of curiosity and questions in me, and I think also coming from that very small conservative Christian world, it's like I say this once in a while, it's like a kid in a candy store. What I can read or what I can just think about, and not being afraid like that's not in the Bible. It's a very freeing sense. And here I am in my 70s, and this is all, I'm so grateful to be alive and to have my brain working. I mean, and slowing down. But when you asked about what do you see, I think as your soul, I saw myself as a child, and I feel like that's still a big part of me, to be curious, to be asking hard questions, and not being disciplined for that. Just like, wow, I can explore all this stuff. And so I'm just, thank you so much. And I have to add what Cheryl said about love. I don't, probably backwards on here. Yeah, you can't even see it. But in the middle of my little note sheet, I wrote in big letters, love question mark. And so that was one of my thoughts. And then, but actually, it's so obvious that, well, maybe it's not obvious. It feels obvious that love, it's just a given. It's a given that I don't know, the universe loves itself. Well, and one other, I'm just like unwinding here. When we die and change our pattern, when there's so much seems like fear, hatred, war, all that stuff, when people die with that in them, I hope that somehow dissolves into something better, or is that partly why the earth doesn't, or people, the whole thing doesn't seem to work itself out of that? Like, when are we all just like John Lennon, when are we all going to love each other?
Mhm.
Well, that's enough for now.
Mhm.
Appreciate. I
Yeah,
appreciate your
yeah.
asking about love, you and Cheryl. Everybody really wants to know about love, right?
I don't know if this fits in this particular moment. Thanks for sharing those ideas, Cindy. But we're told to live in the now moment. And it's really hard to do for us with monkey minds and activities and goal lists and to-do lists. But
Yeah.
when you live in the now moment, which I have experienced in my view, traveling in a motorhome, I didn't worry about what I left at home. I didn't worry about what was coming the next day. We just looked at today and the road ahead and loved every minute of what we did that day because it was new and exciting and different and we were experiencing something. But when you live in the now moment, there's no room for fear or worry or regret or, those negative things come from, in my experience, thinking about the past, oh, I should have, or think about the future, what if. If you just live for now, you just experience peace, calm, joy, excitement, learning, whatever. It's for me, that's where I want to be. And it's really hard to do. And I mentioned before this all started, sitting on the front porch in the swing doing nothing is about as close as I can come to living in the now moment and experiencing my soul, looking out at the front yard with the squirrels and the cats and the birds and the insects and nature and going for my walks in the woods or out, through the parks. And I wasn't raised by very religious parents, but my dad was such an outdoorsman. And I really think he taught me a love of the outdoors, and he experienced life more fully out in the out of doors when he was hunting and fishing and, connecting with nature. And I'm just rambling. These are just crazy rambling thoughts, but I'm going to go sit on my front porch and look at my front yard and watch the squirrels this afternoon.
Yes, Laurel.
I just would like to probably hear more about it. It's very intriguing, but and it takes me a while to grasp things, but the thoughts it's so intriguing and it feels so right. Uh, just just that I need to hear more to understand it. I feel like a little bit better because it does make a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense to me, but it's a big, to me, it's a huge, huge theory, and it's very intriguing. Yeah, I'd like to hear more.
I just went and got some of the books off my bookshelf. The one I really was recommended that I haven't read completely is The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself,
Oh yeah.
Michael Singer. If you want to read any of these, Laurel, you're welcome. The Seed of the Soul by Gary Zukov.
Okay.
This is an older one. And then Jody Miller Stevenson, our friend that I think she used to live in Portland, The Soul Purpose. So there's so many books and
Okay.
theories out there, and they're all they are theories. That's all we have. But like you, it feels so right what Marty's brought with, to us today. That's like the first time I went into a New Thought, Unity Church and Abundant Life Center. It just feels right. There was, a knowingness that this is what I'm here to learn because I'm in the right place at the right time.
Well, I might take you up on that, Cheryl,
You've
because
got time to do it now.
yep, yep.
Yes. Yes, Marty.
I just want to make myself available if anybody wants to have coffee and talk, just, let it flow. I'm available. Give me a call.
Nice.
It's fun. This is like fun with a whole different level of excitement. I want to tell you all that I'm sorry I was late getting here. My computer and my speaker wasn't plugged in and things weren't working. And you have times when things just don't friggin' work. It doesn't come together. And while we're looking at the whole big picture, Marty, I'm remembering all the things that didn't work and when it didn't work right and how I got hurt and how I hurt other people and all the people in my life that I met. And I had that uh-oh feeling. When you get that uh-oh feeling, it's like, oh shit, something's not right with this picture. And where's this going to go? And where's it going to end up? And we do all that. And then we choose a side to be on, and this is right, and this is wrong, and this is love, and this is hate. And where are we in this world with this politics and this ocean? I was watching the kids do the news yesterday, and they have something that they call the blob. And there's this pocket of warm water that sometimes shows up. And it's not like cold ocean water, but it's a weird thing that they got to name it something. You got to call it something. Well, what is this? This is the blob. Who named it that? Why'd they name it that? What does it do? What is it good for? And you can't drink it. What do we do with it? And all the stuff that we do with stuff and why we get it and why it comes to us and how it goes together and in these pieces like a puzzle, that fits perfectly. I'm doing all this right now, life and death stuff. I've had a death in my family, and it's my birthday on the same day. So it's got life and death, and it's all stirred up in this big pot, and it comes out to make me doing what I'm doing here and now today. When am I going to go on and do something else? Who knows? Who knows what it'll. Thank you for letting me just ramble. I'm going on and on.
Yes, Marty.
I just want to respond real quickly, Arlene. One of the things I invite you to keep in mind is the universe has an operating system that doesn't allow it to care about how when things don't work, we get uncomfortable, or when we have to face death, we get uncomfortable. It only cares about the truth, which for me is love. The universe is love experiencing itself. So just allow yourself to ask about love when you go to that place, maybe. Could that help?
Thank you. I hope so.
Well, talking about the imprint that's left, from all of your thoughts or whatever, it makes me choose to be even more conscious, or choose lack of animosity when I hear things that are really bugging me, which goes on these days somewhat. And interestingly enough, on the other side of that, I've heard speakers just in this last few days, 2 of them, and I was so aware and so impressed about the fact there was no tone of animosity about what's happening in our government. They were just where they were, One of them said, in the college where change is made, in the DEI or in organizations or anything. And she answered, no, we just kept doing what we knew to be right. And I was maybe wondered what other people, the faculty, if they'd be concerned, but they went, yes, So, and the other one, it's like, we know we have differences, and we're upfront about them. And maybe that's a better place to be than having that fight feeling about it. It's like, because that gets imprinted on the universe. And then I think of those poor people that have the atoms that were in Hitler, or whatever. What are they dealing with? What kind of influence does that have? So, yeah, the thoughts. But yeah, and just the way things are imprinted and stay, it reinforces the value of every uplifting thing we do, any tiny little thing, because as using one of Arlene's words, it's remembered, Yeah, Nanda.
Thank you, Marty. That little brief thing, the universe exists to love itself. You go back, you look at the event that we call the Big Bang. Why? Well, I think that might be it. I mean, something. Yeah. Why? Why did it happen? I mean, it is such an unbelievably stupendous amount of energy was created or released from something. Nobody really, at least I don't know of any coherent theory of a priori what went before. If there was something that went before, the record of it was erased by the tremendous temperature of that event. But the universe was created to love itself. That's about as good as you're probably ever going to get. So thank you.
Oh, and in saying that, and on us all being the universe created to love all that is, and all of its expressions.
Yeah.
That's kind of helps move me to a place of embracing things more.
Except for Trump. The unitary exception, at least now.
Okay. Well, if no one has an urgent thing, we have the invitation to connect with Marty. You can do it individually over coffee or a couple or whatever. But I know whenever I have coffee with Marty, it's a very absorbing and meaningful experience. So I highly recommend it. Yeah. Okay, so thank you, Marty. As you can tell so well, your message was very meaningful to, I think, everyone that was here. And thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's one of the things we really have expressed we wanted, and the community has expressed, you know, the meaningful maybe wasn't, but challenge, things that challenge us. And this is, you know, meaningful in that it does challenge us, you know. So thank you so much for bringing that. So at this point, we get to enjoy another song, and this one is Be Still and Know That I Am God. It takes on a new meaning, huh? So as we wrap up our service, let's greet each other with namaste. Namaste.
Stay.
Namaste. 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 And I just mentioned we are an independent spiritual community, and we're supported by the activities and the presence of one another, and as individuals and a whole, and financially by the contributions of the community. And so if you do want to make a financial contribution, it can be done on the website, or there's a place you can mail a check, which is sent out in the follow-up emails sent to the community list. So if you're watching this someplace and you're not on the list, just reach out. Okay. And so thank you so very much.